Hello tanks and tankettes, and welcome to a view replay and a video that's taken rather longer than you might expect to get produced, because I've been once again doing various rendering related tests and such forth today, and after a bit of fiddling around and once again scratching my head as to what I'm going to do exactly, I basically, to cut a long story short, went and did the thing I said I probably wasn't going to do, which is upgrade my version of Vegas. And I've actually gone for Vegas Pro this time as well. I've shelled out a bit more cash, but it's out of my business account, so it's all good. As far as the tax man is concerned, and as far as I'm concerned, it's entirely 100% a business expense, so that's quite nice for my tax return. But yeah, it was a hefty discount that basically ended up swinging my decision to go for it. But also a couple of other things as well. I mean, the one that looked like it would be most useful of the other programs I looked at was Adobe Premiere, but the price was gonna, like, you've got to sign up for the cloud subscription service. You can't just buy Premiere anymore, and even if you could, it'd be expensive. Vegas has always been a cheaper price point option, and you take the already cheaper price of Vegas Pro and then stick a 40% discount on it. Plus, I get to use all the presets and everything I've got already. Plus, it will now accept all of those different file type inputs that the consumer version just wouldn't. In the end, yeah, okay. It just ended up being apparently the best option available. So here I am, having done the thing I said I wasn't going to do. Now, the good news for me is that I can, like I mentioned, I can use different file input formats. And so I'm hoping this results in better quality on YouTube, because Vegas Platinum Movie Studio, or some combination of those words, with Bandicam there was basically one recording option I could use, and I think with my CPU not being, I mean, it's a pretty good CPU, but it's an i5 rather than an i7, and I learned only after having bought the i5 that for video processing stuff an i7 probably would have been preferable. So at least some of the problems I think I was having with Vegas previously were down to the fact that I was having to record with one particular codec in Bandicam, and now I can use a range, so I can basically use uncompressed lossless video as the raw input, which results in a huge file, but I've got the drive space, so that's not a problem. And then theoretically that should result in a better output on YouTube, and I've done one or two little tests which seem to confirm that, so we'll see if that is indeed the case. Anyway, so that's enough about how the sausages are made. This is Snowy Wolf, or is it just Snow Wolf? It's a little hard to read on the... I should know that. I did look at the thing, but now I come to think about... I think it's just Snow Wolf. Let's just go with that, and if I'm wrong, well, I can facepalm later. So yeah, he's in the VK45.02A, and this is actually patch 9.16, so this is before its very recent buffs, because in line with a lot of the other German heavies, this thing actually got a couple of buffs in 9.17.1. Now, not huge ones. I think anyone that's played this would probably quite like it to have the same gun as the Tiger II. It's always been the little brother of the Tiger II, and the theory was that this was the much more mobile medium, not medium, even heavy, and then the Tiger II had the better armor and better firepower. But the thing is, you look at the actual comparative stats, the Tiger II has worse horsepower per ton, but it has also got better terrain resistances. It's also got by far the better gun, and up until the latest patch, it unquestionably had the better armor as well. So the buffs that this received were 150mm up the front plates. The rest of the front armor might have changed as well, but that's what it says on the patch notes. So that brings it in line with the Tiger II. And it kind of makes sense because it now being on the line to the Panzerkampfwagen 7, this was always a bit of an oddity, because it didn't have much armor, and then it went to the VKB, which had all of the armor. So it now has at least comparable armor on the upper front plate, which is quite sloped, to the Tiger II. So, a bit more armour to work with. It's also got better gun depression. This was always one of the things that was a bit weird about this tank. It uses the same turret as the Tiger II when they're both fully upgraded, and yet it had 2 degrees less gun depression, despite it being a very frontally mounted turret. But it's now going to be -8 again, in line with the Tiger II, but it's lost a little bit of gun elevation to go with that. But I think that is basically what the Tiger II has as well. So it's still kind of the awkward little brother, but there's another awkward brother as well with the new the VK45.02, and so this kind of retains its title as the more mobile tier 8 German heavy, but when you compare it to something like an IS-3, for instance, it's still not super good. I think this is still a tank that people play through to get to other tanks. Now, Snow Wolf here, he's had a couple of bounces with his armour, but with 150 on the upper front plate, he potentially, if he was playing this game over again and it happened in the exact same way, he might have more armour, more hit points left by this point. But despite the fact that the gun on the Tiger II is definitely better, Snow Wolf's not done too badly. Like, the handling on this gun is still not bad, it's just the handling on the Tiger II gun is really good, especially the 0.3 accuracy. Tiger II's accuracy is almost second to none in terms of heavy tanks. There might be some others that have 0.3, but I don't think there are any that have better. So he might have a few more hit points at this point, which would be useful because it's come down to being a very, very close game between the last couple of tank destroyers and their arty, and on his side, well, it's him, this Tiger P, and AT-15 and a Burt, and the AT-15 is taking the long, slow route down around the outside. So there's the Jagdpanther II, who's been back there the entire time, and, well, a hit from that would definitely be fatal unless Snow Wolf got lucky, but they really do have to move up because otherwise, if they're both sides are just sitting around not doing anything, not making a move, then this could easily be a draw. And he has to really take the initiative here. He can't let the enemy team have the initiative because they can't afford it. He's easily a one-shot. If he just holed up somewhere and then the Jagdpanther II turned up and blapped him in the face, and that'd be that. But if he's in a position to do as he is doing, to spot this guy, to do some damage as he's moving around, and also keep him lit for artillery, well, that's fine. Now, the Jagdpanther II must have been perma-tracked by the Burt, because he's just been killed by the Burt, and that then only leaves this T28 HTC. Well, obviously there's artillery as well. So he gets the shot in, actually tracks him, but the gun traverse range on the HTC is such that the guy still gets a shot off, but it bounces, fortunately, off that 120mm upper front plate. And of course, you know, that would most definitely be a bounce these days with 150mm. So retracts him, and well, he's under fire himself from the enemy artillery. It really is in the hands of RNGs as to whether he survives or not. But given that they still have that full health AT-15, even if Snow Wolf dies, they're almost certainly going to win. There's very little chance that they won't. So if he can keep this guy lit for the Burt, that would be good, but he's also got to be careful himself. But that was very close, because clearly that SU-8 can hit him when he's in between these two hangars, but he doesn't want to expose himself because the HTC has definitely got enough pen to punch through his unangled frontal armour. Now, I can't remember offhand what the side armour of this thing is, but I have a feeling it's not great for side scraping. It might be like 80mm. Don't think it's as good as 100mm. The Tiger II was always better at that. So he takes a peek and gets a very lucky snapshot for the kill. That's his 4th kill. Although we're going to have to wait to the end to see what the damage racks up to, because this being 916, we had the new damage counters in game at that point, but they weren't working on replays at that point. So all that's left is that SU-8, And the Bert, who had to move up anyway because, you know, it's got a pretty short range, he's the one that actually spots them. So it's just a question of, is Snowwolf going to maybe get a shot at the SU-8? And potentially, if he does, it could be a one-shot. Or will Bert steal the show with a bit of arty on arty action? And if you guessed it was going to be Bert, well, you were entirely correct. So there we go. He just scraped through that and survived to get an ace tanker and a high caliber with 4.3, nearly 4.4k damage. Also about 800 spotting and assistance damage as well on top of that to bring the total up to around about 5k, in fact just over 5k. And that all put him at the head of the team. But the Bert did pretty well as well, 2500 damage and about 1350 base XP, so he really wasn't that far behind. So yeah, that was a pretty creditable performance. And I have to say, just as a little aside, to date, my highest XP game in World of Tanks ever is still in the VK45.02A, and it was the old one with the 100mm front plate. Somehow I've never managed to top that. So it's one of those tanks that is not particularly great. For most people it's going to be a stepping stone on the way these days now to the Panzerkampfwagen 7 rather than the Maus. But you know, every dog has its day, and in this case for Snowwolf, that day was whatever the date there was when he had that game. Well, that kind of fizzled out there. It started off so grandly and then it just, you know, anyway, yeah, as you can tell, maybe I'm recording this a little bit late because it's been a long day. So, let me know what you think of the video quality. Obviously, I can't control what YouTube does to it on their end, but it should be better quality going into it because it's better quality raw footage going into it. And so I'm hoping that makes a noticeable difference because I think it does. But if it doesn't, well, it still will have been worth it buying this upgraded software because it can just do things that the other software couldn't. So I hope you've enjoyed this replay, and if you have, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you haven't already, and as always, stay tuned for more.